Gospel of Matthew, chapter 8, verse 26, we read, Then Jesus got up and rebuked the winds and sea. Dear brothers and sisters in Christ Jesus, today we reflect on the theme Storm and God's Sovereignty. Have you noticed the stories of God's mercy? There is nothing out of human control than storm at the sea. There is nothing helpless situation than boat tossed by the waves of the sea. Circumstances in which we are helpless and we cry to God. We have examples from the Bible where people were caught up in storms and they cry out to God. Jonah was traveling by the boat and the boat was caught up in storm and they cry to God. They catch Jonah and throw him in the sea and they all kneel down and cry to God in prayer. St. Paul was taken to Rome as a prisoner and they were traveling by boat and there in the sea comes a big storm. The centurion goes to St. Paul, pleading him to pray to his God. And St. Paul prays to God and the storm was calmed down. In today's Gospel, we have the same famous story, Jesus calming the storm. Apostles came to Jesus asking him to calm down the storm and Jesus calms down the storm. Here we see the sovereign power of Jesus over the storm and the winds. And same Jesus has power on our storms of life and he calms down. And this story teaches us that we are called upon to believe and trust in the supreme power of God. From today's Gospel, we can learn 7 principles for life, how we can trust in the supreme power of God. The first principle, unexpected storms come in our life. Matthew writes, they boarded the boat and suddenly there came great storm and they approach Jesus and Jesus listens to their cry. In our life too, great storms come, maybe family conflicts, maybe depression, maybe loneliness. But Jesus allows us so that we may trust in Him. The second principle, Jesus still present. Matthew writes, Jesus was asleep. God doesn't sleep. Book of Sirach tells, God doesn't sleep. Psalm 121 tells God always concerned about us. God remains in silence so that our prayers may reach to Him. So we may think sometime God is sleeping. God doesn't listen to our prayers, but He listens to our prayers. Thirdly, God rebukes. Matthew writes, Jesus got angry and he says, men of little faith. Here we see they were helpless. They forgot about God, the power of God, and therefore they were coming to Jesus, asking Him to help them. And Jesus rebukes them and tells them, you grow deep in your faith. In our life too, when problems come, sufferings come, we forget God and we think we can do all things. It is not possible. We need to trust in the providence of God, in the power of God. Fourthly, they cry to God. And Matthew writes, they cried, save us, Lord. And here, our life too. Prayer is a cry to God. And when we are in sufferings, when we are in trouble, we need to pray to God. And only through our prayer, God can listen to us and grant all our prayers. And fifthly, God transforms our storms into calmness. Matthew writes, Jesus rebuked the storm and the sea. In our life too, there are so many storms come. Like when there is a problem, when I am in depression, I want to end my life. But that is not the end of my life. Rather, I need to trust in the Lord because He is a God of storms and He can calm down the storms of my life. Sixthly, He proves that He has the power over all the winds and the sea. Matthew writes, God is a God of power, and we are called upon here to trust the supreme power of God. Maybe we are in the pandemic situation, we may think coronavirus may ruin the whole world. And Jesus tells, I have the power. I have overcome the world and I can help you to remove this coronavirus from the face of the earth. Let us believe in the supreme power of God. And lastly, we see they are marveled and they start adoring and worshipping God. St. Thomas, when he saw resurrected Christ, and he told, my Lord and my God, and he worshipped Him. And today we are called upon to worship Jesus because He can calm our storms and He is the supreme power of the whole universe and the heaven. To conclude, I quote Isaiah 43:1, Fear not, I am with you. God is with us, let us not fear. May the Lord bless us. Amen.